Boz Skaggs gets us going here on a Tuesday morning on the Q 96.5 FM. Good morning. We open up the doors to the dome on a kind of a chilly day out there, but at least there's no more snow. They do claim there's some snow coming here our way pretty soon, and we don't need any of that. I've had enough snow. It's done for the year. Matt Keck's out there listening to me right now, and he shovels all the snow around Northwest Ohio. And Mac, I'm sorry, but you're just basically going to be broke for the rest of the winter. That's the way this is going to work. Because at this point in time, I'm done with snow, and I'm talking to the guys who are in charge of that, and there will be no more snow or ice for the rest of the winter because I've got a lot of pull with those guys, and that's exactly what's going to happen. We open our Tuesdays always with an education program. Today we turn our spotlight onto Northwest State Community College, and we have a couple of guests today. First, Dan Berklow, who is the Dean of the STEM program at Northwest, and also Cassie Rickenberg, who's in charge of the Advising Center at Northwest. Guys, welcome in.
Thank you.
Good to have you in here today. Are you guys, Jim Bellamy is the guy that always picks these things and a good friend of mine. And I know, Cassie, he sent you a note that said, it'll be easy, it won't be a problem. Jim's a piece of cake, right? Isn't that what he said?
Yes, he did. He said you were his best friend.
There you go. And he is my best friend, and we are good buddies. We go back a long, long ways. And normally in this show, when you guys come over, we always take a dig, and I also open everything up so that anybody coming over can take a dig at Jim Bellamy. But today we're not going to do that. How's that? We're going to be very good to the guy because he treats us extremely well and brings very good people over here for us to talk about. And today, two of my favorite topics, because I think, Dan, first of all, the STEM program, the STEM business has gotten to be really hot in the last few years. Because the last time when I met you, you were more on the engineering and manufacturing type side, were you not?
Yes, I was. And STEM includes the engineering and manufacturing part of it. So it's the only difference is it's adding the math and science in there, which is required for those programs. So it all kind of fits together.
And when did you become the dean of the STEM program then? How long has that been?
Maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
5-6 years ago.
Is that about when this all started to really come to the forefront? I mean, is that when people started to say, man, we need a little more focus on the math and the science in the United States?
I think in the country it's been recognized probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Okay.
Kind of nationally that we need to put more effort into the STEM areas. I think regionally people have started to kind of pick it up and position programs and curriculum more focused in those areas. And I think that's when we made that decision probably 5-6 years ago that we wanted to kind of tighten those things up, kind of put them together in the same family or same area. So I think that the sciences, the natural sciences, the social sciences, all of those need a lot of attention, and they're foundational for a lot of programs and different areas, not just manufacturing, but in the medical fields, in the social sciences and the social work fields, those type of things, and mathematics as well is a foundational type of program that supports many different areas.
Now, why did all of a sudden we become so conscious of this problem? Because they taught me science and math 100 years ago when I was in first grade and going on. Okay, what caused this all of a sudden to be such a big concern in the country?
I think it's as a country, as you look and see, as we have continually lost ground relative or globally in innovation and the development of technologies, the development of processes. The United States used to be a leader. We were in the top 3, and now we're down like 25th, 26th, 27th. So everyone says, well, China's doing this and India's doing that, and they are. They've got more mathematicians, scientists, engineers, so they're developing products, they're innovating processes, medicines and things like that at a faster rate than what we are. So if we want to compete as a country, we need to kind of step up our game and get more in the STEM area.
Because in all honesty, science and math were not my strong suits, obviously. Okay, I talk for a living. Okay, so math and science could be very difficult, and I think people were somewhat shying away from some of those programs, weren't they?
Probably, and I think way back in the day, you looked at math and science as kind of nerdy, and that was the guys that were with the little pocket protectors,
Sure.
and doing all the research and back in the room and stuff. And I think what we did is we missed the point that it's not just that. Yes, there is a lot of the research, but there's the whole application side where you're taking what you know about physics and chemistry and biology, and you're applying it to come up with a new cure or a new medicine or a new machine to make this. And so it's the application and more the hands-on part of it. In other words, you're taking the math knowledge or the science knowledge and you're using it to develop something, whether it's a new product or speed up a process. So, manufacturers in the area, we have to compete with other manufacturers in other countries. So if we can run it faster, or if we can run it better, or produce a different part. And so I think that's where the math and science, and it's more the application of those. And I think that's where we, in Northwest, with a lot of the technology type programs, we're looking at more applied math and applied science. So I think that's where that comes in.
Well, I had my worst fear. Saturday, I took my grandson up to a basketball game in Albion, Michigan. Okay, we went to the game and came back home, and then Sunday we got together, and he had to do his math homework. All right, now he's 13 years old. All right, so that means he's got little things in parentheses here and there, and he's got X factors, and he's got this times X and that time X, and divide this and factor it all out. And he started to sit down and show me all of these equations that he's figuring out and working on. And I just, that was when the panic set in again, because I remember those days.
Yeah.
And 2 plus 2 is still 4, and I've got that one, okay?
Yeah.
But 2x divided by 3x squared, equals all this kind of stuff. And now factor that out, Grandpa. It got to be one where I just said, I think the football game's on.
Yeah. But it's not bad. I think, not everybody enjoys it, but I think it's a good skill, and I think it's, like I said, foundational. Like if you're good at math and understand math, it really helps you analyze other subjects and topics and things like that. It's kind of like, a writing class will help you in everything you do. A math class will as well help you in everything you do. You see things differently. You're able to, manipulate things in your mind better. Just the analytical thinking that you get from a math class.
Yeah, and he's got it down, man. At 13, he's a long ways down the road compared to where I am right now.
Good.
So, Cassie, he might be somebody that you guys are going to get to advise here one of these days. How's that?
That's good. That's what we want.
Cassie Rickenberg, tell me a little bit about your advising center, because it's in its infancy right now, isn't it?
Correct. We've been open for about a year. What we do is we take new students when they first arrive at Northwest State, whether they have transfer credit from another college or if they want to transfer out, we can help them build a plan. So we make sure they get registered for their beginning level classes, so that way by the time they do get to their division, like Dan's STEM program, they can start taking their program related courses.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where'd you come from? How did you all of a sudden become in charge of this department at Northwest?
I started at Northwest State probably 4 years ago, and I worked in the office with the vice president of academics. So that really gave me my foundation for learning about our programs, understanding how our developmental education works, learning a lot about transfer, so how students bring in the credit and how we can best help students to transfer out and finish their 4-year degrees if that's what they choose.
And I'll tell you what, the choices are so many over there. That's what a monumental task you have.
Yes, it's very fun. I enjoy it every day. It's something new.
It has to be.
We really strive to meet the students where they are. So you often find students, no one student is the same. So everybody kind of brings their own situation and their own whether that be family structure or education or what kind of job they want when they leave Northwest State. So we really try and meet them where they are and build the best plan for them.
Now, I know you don't do this by yourself. You have helpers.
Correct. We have 4 advisors. Each advisor is kind of assigned to a program. So, for instance, nursing has an advisor. We have an advisor specifically for transfer and Associates of Arts and Science. We have another one for the STEM area, which includes industrial technology. And then the 4th one is like business and allied health. So you're talking like your criminal justice and human services.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Dan Burkhart and Cassie Rickenberg are my guests right now from Northwest State. We need to pay some bills, guys. How's that? And when we come back, we'll get a little deeper into STEM and also the Advising Center at Northwest State. 22 after 9 on the Q, 96.5 FM. Ah, Al Giroux here on the Q 96.5 FM. Tuesday morning, we're talking education here, as we always do in the Dome. And I have Dan Berklow, the Dean of STEM at Northwest State Community College, and also Cassie Rickenberg, who is in charge of the Advising Center at Northwest State. Dan, off mic, we had a really neat conversation because you were talking to me a little bit about how you and Cassie as lives kind of coexist there, and how much easier that center now makes your job and what you're trying to do with the students. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it's, one of the things we've always been challenged with, which I think it's every college, is how fast students transition and make it all the way through college. So a lot of times students, they start and they might kind of stammer. They don't know what they want to do. And they end up, to get a 2-year degree, they end up taking 4, 5, 6 years. And when it starts stretching out that long, they decide not to finish, life comes up. And so it's super important to get students in, get them on track, and get them in a nice solid track and keep them on that track so that they finish in 2 to 3 years versus 4 or 5 years. And there's a lot of studies out there that show, like, if they're more on track and if they're moving at a faster pace, you get higher completion rates.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And everybody knows we need more graduates coming out, so we can't fulfill the pipeline. It's a vacuum on our end, so we've got more companies looking for graduates than we have graduates coming out. And so everything that we can do to get more graduates coming through, so better retention, better completion rates. And it starts with good advising right up front, which is what Cassie's department is kind of overseeing. And we've seen a big difference. So we have, and I should probably let Cassie kind of chime in, but it's, we've got students coming in, they meet, they get a plan. So it's kind of, you can talk about you always have them on a plan.
We have, for every student in every program, we've worked really hard to create 2, 3, and 4-year pathways. So then that student, depending on where they are in their life, whether or not they have a full-time job, part-time job, children, managing other responsibilities, they can really decide how many credit hours are going to be best for them. And then based on that, we can show them their graduation date at the start of their program. So we're being upfront about any prerequisites they may need to take for the program, and then we can say, look, you're going to graduate spring of 2020, or whatever the term may be. A lot of that is just making sure we have a really good schedule built so they can take the courses that they need to take in the term that they need to take them.
Yeah. Wow. So. Do you find, because the neat thing about a community college nowadays is you have two different sets of students that are coming in. First, you've got that person who just came out of high school, and they sit down in front of you. Do you find those folks are relatively focused and know where they want to go right now, or is it like I was when I was a kid, and I think I want to go that way, but I really don't know where I'm heading?
Well, I think we get a lot of that, and the beginning is just having them start somewhere.
Sure.
So making sure they get in the classroom, figuring out what their likes and dislikes are, and then helping them to create a path. I think a simple question we always start out with is, do you want to transfer onto a 4-year, or do you need to find employment right away? So that kind of helps us start that beginning conversation to determine, hey, we're living on our own, we need an income, we need to find a job. So that we might steer toward an applied degree where they have the skills right out of their associate's degree to go find a job. Some students know right away they want to transfer on to a 4-year. They know what college they want to go to, they know what program they want to be in, and it makes our jobs a little bit easier.
Sure.
They've done their research. So.
Sure. Then you have the older students who are coming back for more specific reasons. I would think that they would probably have a little clearer cut idea of what they really need and where they're really going at that point, don't they?
I think a lot of times they want to maybe enhance their job skills. That seems to be the primary factor that we see with people coming back to school. Or they've been in a career field and they want to change career fields. So I think those are the two most common things that I've experienced.
Yeah. Dan, you were telling me a little bit about the programs you have with Miami, and you're also trying to work some other programs at this point in time, and how well those have worked for the students at Northwest too.
Yeah, I think that, so we do a lot of transfers. So I don't know if people realize Northwest State literally it's the first 2 years of basically any 4-year institution out there. So if you want to go to University of Toledo or Bowling Green or Miami University, through our transfer assurance guides, policies, and things like that, and the way we run our curriculum, you literally can get the first 2 years or more. So the Miami program that I had mentioned was It is a Bachelor's of Science in Engineering Technology. There's electromechanical, electrical computer science. They're ABET accredited programs, just as if you were going to Miami University or University of Toledo. But the way it's set up is you can get 3 years worth of curriculum at Northwest State on our campus at our tuition, which is typically, community college is typically half the price of any university, just tuition, and then there's no room and board, so that's then considerable savings. The 4th year, you still do it at Northwest State. It is Miami's tuition, but there's no room and board costs, so you can literally go through and get a 4-year degree at just basically a little bit more money than what it would cost to get your 2-year associate degree. So, and one of the things that we've seen, which is very typical, is once you get your associate degree, because of the demand in the area, most of the students are hired with their associate degree in an engineering technology. They then go on and continue at Miami, but the places that hire them as one of their benefits is typically tuition reimbursement. So if a student invests in an associate degree, gets their associate degree, they continue to go out at Northwest State while they're working, and the company will pay for the remainder of their bachelor's degree.
Wow.
So it's a really good program. It's well liked by students and their families. We have and the companies. So the companies are all aware of it. So even some of the companies now, like General Motors and some of the other companies, they are saying, okay, we will hire you, but we want a 4-year degree. So they'll hire them with a 2-year degree with the expectation that they go back and get that Miami degree. So it's a pretty popular program, but Miami isn't the only one. So we're working with agreements with Eastern Michigan, but we have all kinds of agreements with Toledo and several colleges throughout the state. And it isn't just in the engineering technology area either. So, you know, in the social science, in the humanities, a lot of different, like if a student wanted to start here and transfer into a history program at BG, we have our Associate of Arts and Associate of Science, and those are transfer programs that basically gear students up to whatever kind of program you want to go into. So when they meet with those, kind of starting in Cassie's area, meeting with the initial advisor and then transitioning to their program advisor, they will work with the student that says, you know, if I want to go to Findlay, if I want to go to Toledo, if I want to go to Ohio Northern or wherever I might want to go, they'll work with them on that program, and they'll do an Associate of Arts or an Associate of Science, which is the 2-year foundational part that would then build into the next step. I think what's nice about that too is I'm prejudiced, obviously, but you're getting a much better educational experience. So my background, you know, I went to a large school. I went to, in my calculus classes and my chemistry classes, 120-some people in a class. Teacher didn't know who I was. Our labs had TAs. You can take those same foundational courses, your chemistry, your physics, your humanities class, but you're in a class of 15 or 20.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
The teacher knows your name. The teacher knows if you're in class every day. Teachers can see if you're struggling with your homework. They can make that connection. So you aren't one of 120, you're one of 20 in those first two, those foundational years, which is really how well you do in those first 2 years is going to be how well you do in the remainder of it. So if you struggle through your first 2 years, chances are you're not going to make it in the 3rd and 4th year. So getting that foundational work done, and I think that's where we really do a good job in the transfer area, is students are coming in getting a really good foundation and are being even more successful when they go on to that next step at a 4-year university.
Yeah. So when they're done with the 2 years, they obviously move then to Oxford and go to Miami or wherever they're going to go, or can they take those classes and get that bachelor's still staying here in Northwest Ohio?
So the Miami program, they do stay right on Northwest State campus.
Okay.
So you don't have any room and board costs. You can still live with mom and dad if you want, or get an apartment or whatever you want.
Sure, mom and dad want you out there.
Yeah.
Get out of it. Come on, get out of there.
so that one is that program in particular is you can do it all on Northwest State campus. So you can spend 4 years with us and get a 4-year degree from Miami University. The majority of them, though, is typically you would do 2 or up to 3 years. So some of our programs, it's 3 years, and then you might go to the university and do a year's worth. Some of the universities even have online type of, depending on the program. The one we're looking at with Eastern Michigan, which we're in the process of finalizing, you do 3 years with us, and then you do an online portion with them. to get your bachelor's in technology from Eastern Michigan. So it's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's providing access to people. So it's when you have a family and you're trying to raise kids, you can't pack it up and go to the university. So I think we do a nice job of providing the access to those upper level programs, those 4-year degrees.
Well, and I would think at some point, and when I was 18 and I was ready to get out of the house, my parents were ready for me to be out of the house at that point. Okay, but for some people, that's a difficult transition when you, for the first time in your life, you scoop everything up and you move hours away from home. And as you said, Dan, I mean, initially those classes are 100, 200, 300, 400 people large. So you're just sitting there shoulder to shoulder with folks. And if you've got questions, there's no real time for answers or anything like that. So you're one of hundreds. At times with those initial classes, and to be able to be one of 15 or 20 makes it so much easier. There's no doubt. Cassie, when you guys get involved then, obviously you have your initial meeting with the student, but I would guess that probably doesn't end there. Do you work with them then throughout that entire 2 or 3 or 4 years, whatever they're going to take?
We generally work with them their first 2 or 3 semesters, depending on the program and the student. What we try to do is after they've had all that new student information, so after we've kind of onboarded them to Northwest State, we hand them off to their faculty advisor. Their faculty advisor, which generally are the faculty teaching the classes, they help them work through any career or transfer related questions. The faculty are from the field, so they can often offer that firsthand experience to the student, so that way they can make educated decisions at the end of their program.
Yeah, wow, I'll tell you what a nice, easy, one-on-one, hands-on type of approach to be able to take to something like that.
Yes.
Especially for a younger person. Now, when you get to the reentry students, the folks who are coming back for that upgrade and that training, basically the same format, same idea at that time, or are there changes there?
It varies student to student, but generally speaking, we still try to onboard them in the advising center and then make the handoff to their faculty advisor or to whatever advisor is most appropriate.
Man, I'll tell you. And Dan, as we talked, this has been one of the best upgrades that Northwest State has made for quite a while, and there's been some pretty nice upgrades at Northwest State.
I think it's one of our best investments because, again, I'll come back to the longer a student is there, the greater the chance of them not completing. So if we can get them on the right path, and I guess think of it as like if you think of a young person who has no sense of direction, so they can't look at a map and figure what's north, south, east, west. They don't really have a good sense of direction. So the advising center brings that person in and says, okay, let me get you guided and give you some directions. So they're like the Google Maps for navigating through your college career. And so they get them on the right path, and it's kind of like if I know I can get there and I can see the finish line, they're more motivated to get to that point.
Yeah.
And so they kind of set the stage and make it really convenient and straightforward for a student and easy for them to follow through. And that follow through then leads to better completion rates. We get more students graduating. We get them graduating faster, which helps us serve our community, filling those positions that are going, right now we don't, have too many positions out there.
You know what? It's such a wonderful problem to have and such a difficult problem to have at the same time, isn't it, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you go back 15, 20 years ago, there weren't any jobs, and we were all wondering, what are these guys going to do? Where are we going to find employment for these people? How are we going to fit them in and allow them to have a normal life and pay their bills and all these things? Now, all of a sudden, it's like, we need more,
Right.
Yeah.
How do you find another person? How do you find 10 more people? How do you find 20 more people?
Yep.
Which I guess in some ways is still a problem, but I guess I'll take that problem any day over where am I going to put them to work after we're done with them here. Dan Burklow and Cassie Rickenberg, my guests from Northwest State Community College. It's 19 before 10 o'clock here on the Q 96.5 FM.
Collision Center.
if you get that worked out. How's that? Cassie Rickenberg with the Advising Center at Northwest State Community College. Dan Burkholt. I'm not going to get it out. Burklow out of this thing. You know,
You got it.
One living brain cell, Dan, is what it's got. That's the problem I've got. Dean of STEM at Northwest State Community College as well. Let's get Cassie. You've got an event coming up. Before you get out of here, we really need to talk a little bit about that. What's coming up?
So we're gearing up already, even though spring semester just started. We're gearing up for summer and fall registration, which opens March 18th. This event will be for anybody who is graduating high school, isn't sure where they're going yet, or even anybody who just wants to register for summer and fall. It will basically be how to navigate college. So we want to provide a service to the community, and that service is helping navigate admissions applications, working through any financial aid issues, so filling out a FAFSA application. We're also going to have a few panel discussions. One of them is geared toward internships, which will be those students who are interested in a career field, and the other one will be transfer students, so students who have made a successful transfer from Northwest State to a four-year institution. So it'll be more question and answer, so you can kind of see how that process goes.
And how do I get involved in that? How do I get registered to come and be part of that?
There is information available on our website, so you can go to northweststate.edu, and then it's /events, and there's a flyer on there. It's February 10th from 2 to 4. It is a Sunday, so we will have the H building open. We'll kind of have everybody situated over there. Computer labs open, so you can fill out applications or you can do your financial aid application. There'll be lots of people on hand to help. Like I said, all geared up toward summer, fall registration to where we'll make you ready to register for classes.
Yeah, wow. Now, is this an event where mom and dad are invited as well if it happens to be a high school student?
Absolutely. If you're still kind of undecided about what program, we'll have faculty or the deans available to kind of discuss program options, like I said, transfer a career. Absolutely, parents are welcome.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That really is phenomenal, and it should be a good day. It's a Sunday afternoon. Football's over nowadays. There's nothing else to do. You're going to sit around the house anyway. If you're planning on or if you want some more information, even just about Northwest State, because there's no real commitment that day. If you show up and you go through the entire process, and then you decide, this really isn't what I want to do. That's probably also part of that day, isn't it, huh?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, we'll talk about college applications and financial aid, which are all things that a student needs to know about if they are entering any institution, any higher education institution.
Yeah,
so.
Wow, I'll tell you what, the one thing that I'm so proud of, and I'm so happy to have a Northwest State in our area, is just the way that you guys do work with members of the community. Because this is a difficult time, you know. I mean, if you're a family nowadays and you're looking at a student who deserves and wants to go to college, and you're looking at a $30,000 a year or more investment, oftentimes, I tell the story all the time. I told it to you. I went to Ohio University for 4 years for $8,000. Well, if you could send your kid to Ohio University right now for $8,000, you wouldn't really care. That's okay. $2,000 a year, it's worth $2,000 a year just to get you the heck out of here. That's what my dad said. Okay, go away. All right. But nowadays, you know, with the dollars, Dan, that we've got, and you're going to have to spend, you really have to be creative if you're a family nowadays.
You do, and I think that's where the community college in Northwest State really helps out. I would say first and foremost, it's quality programs. And
yes.
I can't emphasize that enough. The teacher qualifications, and that is no different than at a university. I think where we excel is it's quality programs, small class sizes. You have practitioners that are teaching the material. So in other words, we have engineers that are teaching engineering classes so they can speak to the discipline. And so I think, you know, first choice, first of all, it's a quality educational program. And by the way, it's half the price of going to a university.
Yeah.
And it's more than actually half the price, because it's half the price on tuition, and then tuition is typically equal to room and board. So if you look at it in those terms, you know, if I'm going to spend $20,000 on tuition and then another $20,000 on room and board, it's $40,000.
Yes.
And we're literally a fraction of that.
Yes.
And so it's a considerable cost savings, and especially in today's age when students are trying to figure it out, and they're trying to, not quite sure. You can chew up, $20, $30, $40,000 in a heartbeat someplace and not really have any curriculum under your belt at that point. Where at Northwest, you can get some guidance, you can get in some different content areas and that you may have an interest in, get a good start at a minimal investment. You can get good quality foundational courses that are exactly what you need, whatever pathway that you would pick. So I think there's a huge cost savings, but first and foremost, I think it's a high quality education that you get from good quality faculty that are practitioners in their area.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Dan Burklow, when we first met one another, you had a race car that was being worked with the students at Northwest. Does that still happen?
It does still happen. That would be our EV Motorsports, and I think we are a community college, and so we don't have the rec center and things like that, but we do have very active college student clubs. And one of those clubs is the EV Motorsports. It is an electric go-kart that the students build and race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway every year. We compete against Purdue, Indiana University, Oklahoma University. It's a major race. The students get pretty excited about it, and we do very well, actually. So we have yet to win the race. We've won the design competition, so I can proudly say a few years ago, we actually had a better design than any of the Purdue cars that were down there.
Wow.
So the students are involved in it. We also have, there's I don't know what the play group is that does all the... Spotlight. So we have, if you like theater and stuff like that, we've got a student group in that. We've got Society of Women Engineers group. We got a 3D team. I don't know if you've seen that made the mechanical hand.
Oh, yes.
For the kid. So those are all student groups that the students can get involved in, and that gets them actually connected to various industry and stuff out there as well. So they're typically doing projects. They're either soliciting sponsorship from companies or doing products for companies and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real world, everyday
Real world
experience at that
application,
point in time.
Yep.
It really is, and that's a wonderful part of the school. All right, Cassie, one last time before I let you out of here, let everybody know about the special event that's coming, and then officially your time in the Dome and in the spotlight will be over for today. How's that, huh?
Sounds good to me. February 10th from 2 to 4. Learn how to become a college student at Northwest State. You can visit northweststate.edu for more information, or if you have any questions, you can always call me at the Advising Center.
That's always the neat part, because everybody has a website. Everybody can do things online electronically. I can tell you, last night I spent a good hour trying to play with about half a dozen things I had to do on somebody's website that was just so easy to do. Okay, but the websites can be easy, and I'm sure yours is. But if there is a need and there's a confusion in your mind as you look at that, you can always pick up the phone and you can always talk to somebody at Northwest State.
Correct.
And that's always the fun part as well.
Absolutely.
All right, that's going to wrap up our education program today. Dan Burklow, who is the Dean of the STEM program, and Cassie Rickenberg, who's in charge of the Advising Center at Northwest State Community College. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for all the wonderful things you do for all of the students here in Northwest Ohio. And we look forward, Dan, for you to come back. And Cassie, you're going to be a regular here, so I'm not even going to invite you, because I'm sure you're going to be here probably most every week to sit in for at least one program with me, right?
For sure.
It's just before 10 o'clock. You've got the cue, and it's just you and me and classic hits from this point on until 1 o'clock this afternoon.